dose of coffee Q&A here on the Onocoffee channel. I'm Jay, your host, and this is a coffee show that we do about coffee, answering questions, and just talking coffee in general. Most Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern. How y'all doing? We're here at the shop. I said yesterday that we were going to be on the road today, and I was expecting to be on the road. However, we did not make it on the road because I needed to go and I have a meeting with someone and I need to bring them some cash, and the cash was not prepared because I called my bank yesterday and I was like, hey, what's going on with the money? And they were like, the money is going to take a few more days. And it's like, the money's going to take a few more days. How many more days is the money going to take? And they're like, Thursday. I was like, Thursday? What the hell? This is some money this is the check that I deposited on an app on Friday. And the app said ready by Tuesday. I was like, okay, Tuesday, is that a holiday or something? I don't know. And so this is not my main bank. And I was like, okay. So yesterday I was expecting to be ready. And so I was going to go up there today and meet up with the client. And they're not ready. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, it takes us 3 to 4 days. 3 to 4 days? I mean, ACH bank transfers are instantaneous for you guys. That's why banks will give me, if I pay a fee at my regular bank, they'll give me the money immediately. But anyway, what do you do? We're going to bitch on all we want. Mom, how are you? Naomi, good to see you. Thank you very much. You like the haircut? Does it look all right? Look all right? I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too tight. Kent, how are you? So today we're back in the shop because I thought, let's make some coffee. So I've got some coffee here ready, just that I've already kind of measured out 20, why does it say 20 grams? It was 25 grams a moment ago. Anyway, this scale is what I used to measure, there we go, a lot of our bulk coffees, right? So when we're packaging coffee, we use that because it's got a pretty big range for, for weight, for scale. But the thing is, when you're talking about scales, there's capacity of the scale, and that's always balanced by resolution, right? And this one has only a 5-gram resolution. So, whereas let's say like this scale here, right? This scale over here, this one that I did not recharge last night, so we're not able to use this. This one has like a tenth of a gram resolution, right? So we can see each individual gram, so like 1, 2, 3, 4 grams, and then to a tenth of a point or tenth of a gram. We cannot do that on that scale because that one has that's got like a 40 pound, what's it say, 40 pound capacity? What's the capacity here? 20 pound capacity. So it's 20 pounds, 10 kilos. So you're always going to have some kind of limitation. Now, I do have some scales that are more scientific laboratory scales that have like to the 1,000th of a gram resolution, but those have maybe only 200 gram maximum capacity. So the finer the resolution that you want in scales, the less capacity it will have overall. Unless, there may be some that have large capacities at very fine resolution, but then now you're talking about what they call balances that are like extremely expensive, like stuff that's like crazy expensive, and they're so sensitive and they're so expensive that they have little housings, like plexiglass housings around the place where you put the weight, the measuring, where the platform is, because those are so sensitive that if you have changes in air currents can affect the readout of whatever you're weighing. So I got here a little bit late because I thought I was going to go downtown because I really need to get hold on a second, let me just grab this thing here. I need to get what do you call it? I need to use what do you call this? French curves. I'm working on this chair, building this chair, and I need to, for the seat of the chair, it's going to have this little kind of dip, or I guess you'd say. And so what I need to create that curve a lot smoother. The curve that I created on the form, I didn't really like, so I want to reshape it. So I need French curves. And if you're not familiar with French curves are these templates that are used in design and layout to help create curves. And they come in sets of, like, you get them by, like, one that I have is sets of 3 by a company called Mars Stadler, old, venerable, like, architectural design company. I first start, I mean, I thought I'd have to go to the art store because I needed to get them. Oh, I know what I need. Here we go. I need to get the, what is it? Oh, you're right, because I need to go to the art store. I thought I need to go to the art store to pick them up, right? Because I didn't think, I wasn't sure if I had them. What you might not know about me is that I actually went to art school after high school for a year. I thought I was gonna be an artist, like, I thought I was an auteur. I was young and beautiful and incredibly pretentious, right? And so I was like, okay, that's art school. Art school it is, without the cigarettes. Although there was always a part of me that thought that I should probably smoke cigarettes because that's what you do in art school, right? Smoke cigarettes. So let me just get this set up here. So I thought, like I said, so that's why I'm a little bit late to getting prepared, because I thought we would need to go downtown to go and to pick up this stuff at the art store center. But I checked my old kit that has all my art stuff, and turns out I have a set of French curves from the 1980s, a set of Mars Stadler French curves. We got our grinder here. So I got, I need to fix that. We got 25 grams of our house coffee. This is a house coffee that I roasted last week. And I thought, oh, maybe we should taste it out and see what it tastes like today. Maybe we'll just do it as a cupping style, just so that we can review cupping methodology. Dev, good morning to you. Thank you for the haircut. Dewan, how are you doing? Maku, good morning. That grinder, Naomi, is a compact R80 grinder. So it's a 80 millimeter flat burrs that are in a horizontal position. So the coffee, is that right? Yeah, the coffee comes. No, they're flat. They're horizontal, not vertical. They're horizontal, and as they spin, they're thrown forward into a chute that goes down. The chute is a little bit problematic, I think, but not too bad. Not too bad. All right, let's get some more cupping supplies here. I think this will be good. Oh, we need a cup for spitting. Although I probably shouldn't spit that much, but I have Starbucks cups here just for that purpose. I did an event with Starbucks, a high school event that we were supporting this local art school many years ago, and the guys from Starbucks are really cool. Like, Spro was doing it, and so was Starbucks, or Starbucks was helping to sponsor it, and they gave me like a couple cases of cups, and I was like, cool, I got some free cups. What more can you ask for, right? So, but the R80 is I think it's a nice grinder, made in Spain by a company called Compaq. And they are a great company. I know the guy that runs distribution in North America, Josh, really great guy. He's always been a very good friend of mine and a good partner. We've worked on. I've got a lot of their grinders. I have the R80. I have the K10. They're old school espresso grinder, and they gave me the first K10 WBC when they first brought them into America, and so. Been a good relationship. I like what they make. So here's the coffee. Right? This is the House Nation in kind of a medium grind. Nice warm tones. Oh yeah, sweetness. Some light cocoa. A little bit of nuttiness. Getting in my eye. Naomi says, aside from the fellow ode, all your grinders are big boys. Well, you have to remember that I have big grinders only because I work in commercial coffee. So it's, I do it professionally. So it's the needs for a professional grinder are a little bit different than what I would need for a home. But it's actually, I do have a couple more grinders. So for example, I do have, of course, the Barazza Virtuoso that you've seen. I do have a Barazza Forte that I won as part of when I won the AeroPress Championship. They gave me a grinder, which was really great. We used that on the bar. We actually started using that on the bar to do our single origin grinding instead of the R80, just to give the R80 a little bit of a break and increase a little bit of our grinding capacity as far as how much we could grind at any one time. And actually, that little Forte worked out really well for like maybe 2 years, maybe a year. I don't remember. It was a little while, but it wasn't a long while. Eventually, the Forte basically just broke down because, we're pounding on that grinder like daily, quite a lot of coffee per day. So a lot of cycles, a lot of pounds running through it. So, we've really put it through its paces because it's not, the Barazza grinders are not designed for commercial use per se, right? They're really designed for home use, occasional use. Some of them might be good as like decaf grinders in a commercial setting, but not necessarily as a primary grinder for cup service because you'll just beat the heck out of it. So I would say that that's something to consider if you're thinking about that. But that's why, like, when my friend wanted to get the Cheado, which is another commercial grinder from Spain, and we got it for him, and he was like, "Do you think I need a new grinder? Do you think I'll need to upgrade?" I said, "Dude, you'll never need to upgrade. With this, you will die. This is like your end of life grinder. Like, you will die before this grinder is dead, right?" Of course, it's not a question of like need, it's a question of want, because a year later he's like, "I think I want to get this other grinder." I was like, "What are you talking about, dude? Are you crazy? You've got an amazing grinder already." But even the guys with the Webers will want to have something else. Paige, good morning to you. Peter, good morning. Or good evening. How's everything going out there? I see we're not on the road, like I said. We're just gonna be tasting coffee because we're gonna go on the road tomorrow. What else do I have to do today? Today I need to go and look for a television. My mom needs a TV for her kitchen. She has a 27-inch. And so here's the thing, like, that kind of irritates me. It's like Netflix back in like October or September started putting a notice on their screen that says, "This television will not work with Netflix after November 7th. And it's like, why? It's a television transmission. But basically what's going on is that these TVs are sending Netflix data on our usage, right? So all of us that use a TV in a setting like, or with any of these smart TVs that are modern, they're getting our data from us, right? And so watching habits and things like that. And so I guess this TV is now so old. It's a Vizio, so it's not terribly old, but maybe it's a good 10, 12 years old, that maybe it doesn't give them all the information they want. So they're like, "You can't use Netflix on here. We're not going to support it." And it's like, what is with the supporting everything? Like, give me the old days of broadcast transmission when it just came over the airwaves and we're just sucking it in the airwaves. You know what I'm saying? Naomi says, "I forgot about the Barazza. You used that before the..." Yes. So the Barazza, so the Virtuoso used before the fellow. What else do I have? I do have the KitchenAid flat burr grinder. Is it flat burr? Yes, flat burrs. Pathetically flat burrs. I did get it from Costco many years ago, maybe like 15 years ago. I got it from Costco for $35, I think, or $30. Really cheap. But it's really cheap grinder. Like, yeah, it's got burrs. Yeah, they've got like kind of cuts in them, but the cuts are kind of rounded over, and you're like, is this cutting or is it more like crushing? It's more crushing than anything else. The grind quality is not very good, but it's marginally better than a Whirlybird. So, but I bought it because I was curious. I was like, oh, let's get that. And I think as far as powered electric grinders, those are the only ones that I have. Okay, so let's go here now. We're gonna pour. We got the boiling water. So as you can see, we're pouring just one big pour for a cupping tasting, because we want to maintain the effervescence, the cap on top of our. Let's look here. So as you can see, we've got nice bloom. And I like you, and like a lot of people will use these type of cups, right, for cupping. These like, porcelain, and those are fine. I like these because I like the glass because you can see what's going on if you want to see what's going on, right? There's, something happening here. You'll see, if you put a light behind it, you'll see coffee floating around. You'll see it kind of doing its thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it here. We're going to wait 4 minutes, right? Power Plant says Costco has the best TV deals. I might have to go to Costco. I'm gonna go to Best Buy, and then maybe Costco. But the thing is, I'm kind of limited on the amount of space, right? She has a 27-inch. There's not many 27 inches being made anymore, so it has to be like probably 32 inches. So I'm gonna have to look at 32 inches, and then look at mounts and things like that. So I'm thinking I'm gonna hit Best Buy also because I need a new hard drive. And I think they have a good deal at Best Buy. Plus, I have a $50 gift card at Best Buy. And then I was thinking I'd go to Micro Center to see what they have there, and then maybe I'll make my way to Costco. I don't have to buy it today. Power Plant says Best Buy is terrible. I know. But I've got a $50 gift card that was given to me many years ago, and I want to burn it. So I even have a Target gift card, which I'm been reticent to use lately. Looks like a chocolate cupcake. It does, doesn't it? Do you need so much coffee for cupping? You know what? No, we don't need that much coffee. Actually, typically, we're like twice the amount of coffee that we would normally use. Normally in this, and because I just decided to do this as on the fly. I didn't decide to do this when I was measuring it out. So we've got 25 grams of coffee in this, which is way too much. This is really ratioed for the 12 ounce. This is a 9-ounce cup, so we've got it's going to be pretty heavy. Also, it's the grind will be heavy. The extraction will be heavy because of the grind, because it's a medium grind, and this is a full immersion brewing. What else do we need to think about? And so normally we'd use 13 grams. So sometimes we're just going to roll with it and kind of like, let it happen. Let it happen. We're not going to be too. Because remember, this is all about pleasurable hedonism. It's just about the enjoyment of coffee, not necessarily, like we don't need to necessarily be too critical at this point. And that's the thing. It's like, in my personal drinking, and even though we're doing a cupping style, I'll consider this to be a personal drinking. I tend not to be too critical for personal drinking, right? Just because, is it any fun when you're too critical about something that you're trying to enjoy, right? Like, I know if I get too critical about restaurants, I don't enjoy it. And it's like, I don't want to be critical. I want to enjoy the restaurant. I don't want to be, I need to put this in here. So one thing you need to do if you want to have a good idea of cupping, you want to have this little side cup that has hot water in it. This is a rinse cup, right? So we're going to rinse the coffee. Power Plant says being too critical can be cringe. I totally agree. Now you can smell it if you want. You get a little bit of smell out of it. I got a little bit of sniffle, so my smelling is not totally on the money. Naomi says that's going to taste super strong. I mean, we would presume that it's going to taste super strong because of the quantity of water to coffee, right? So 19 minutes, we got our 4 minutes gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the breaking. So the breaking, you're just going to kind of use this like this. And you want to get your nose really close, right? Really close. If you end up touching like that, it's okay. Then you're kind of doing it right. Everybody does that. Everybody makes that little tiny error. And everybody feels embarrassed. But nobody cares because, well, some of us are laughing at you, but that's all right because we've all been there, right? So get close. And then the moment you break and push away, right? Ooh, it's nice. All right. So now we're going to skim the scuzz off the top. Normally you use two opposing spoons because that's a little more efficient. But when you're truly an accomplished professional at this, you only need one spoon, right? That's what I'm going to tell you today. All right, there we go. So that's pretty much done. Now we always rinse. Like if you're just doing this by yourself with one cup, you don't need to do any rinsing of your spoons. You just want to get you might just want to get the grounds off it, but you really want to rinse because you're going to go to different samples and different coffees, so you don't want to contaminate, or you want to reduce contamination. So, but when you're doing it all by yourself, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as you know what you're doing. But to the critical point, one of the things about being critical that I think is, no, I had a point. Now I can't remember. This is the problem with stream of consciousness, this, babbling. All right, so we're going to take our little cupping spoon. This is a cupping, we talked about this before. This is a cupping spoon. This is kind of a fancy one. It has my name on it, right? Look at that, fancy. Thank you, Kefa. I appreciate that. This is from Kefa Coffee. Samuel Demise was kind enough to, give me a spoon with my name on it. I'm very pleased. Actually, Samuel and I have been friends for many, many years. Samuel used to come to my shop at the Towson Public Library before I think right when he was going to get into the business. And so I've known him since he started. So he's had wonderful success, brings in beautiful coffees. Okay, so, oh yeah, the critical part, that's what I was thinking. I remember there was a time when like the TDS meters first came out. If you're not too familiar with this, TDS meters are total dissolved solids. And what they're doing, what are they measuring? Specific gravity, or they're measuring something. I have one. I practically never use it. I bought it just because I thought I wanted to be cool like the rest of the kids. And everybody was buying them. But you have these TDS meters, and they'll tell you like how many total dissolved solids are in your coffee. And I remember always thinking back when this all started, I was like, if somebody comes in, because you'd have these people post online, they're like, we went to this place and their TDS reading was low, and I was like, if you walked into Spro and you brought it out, you busted a TDS meter, I might just kick you out. Just like, get out. Take your TDS meter, take your coffee. I'll put it in the go cup. You just take it outside. What does it matter? Like if you drink it and you don't like it, then maybe you might want to analyze why. But to test it and to bring a TDS meter and test it and be like, well, this already doesn't have 19%, so it must not be good. All right, let's try it. Oh, definitely heavier. Ooh. What we need to do is we need to cut this down. Let's cut this down a little bit. Let me grab another cup. So I'm, like I said, 25 grams, and in a vessel that we normally use 13 grams, we're almost twice as much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some samples out of there. I didn't really clean this one. I'm going to take that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dilute it by half, or by double, right? Half double, something like that. Dev says TDS measures the charges of electrons. Okay, good, great. Thank you. Oh, Dev, by the way, I sent you an email just a little while ago with the roast log that you asked for. Kent says, I tried to enjoy a quite developed roast at the start of the stream, but I had to brew a lightly roasted geisha instead. Well, like I said, like we talk about here, this is pleasurable hedonism, right? If you're drinking it and it's not pleasurable and it's not giving you hedonistic fantasies, then why are we drinking it? Don't drink it. Stop drinking. And try something else. Okay, so let's go back here. Now we've got this more diluted. As you can see, I've got it diluted. It's also hotter, which is better ratio. Like it's not as heavy, not as bitterly pronounced. Oh, am I still on my nose? Naomi says, don't forget to wipe the tip of your nose. I went to get my hair cut yesterday. So as far as the tipping of the nose, people, if I have coffee on it, not surprising. People out look at me strange anyway. Like my barber, I went to a different barber yesterday, and he was like, "How long have you been doing the green?" Oh, like well over 5 years now. He's like, "Yeah, the last couple times I've come in, I had green." Of course, I haven't been there to that particular barber in like over a year. So, Power Plant says bypass brewing is the unsung hero of coffee making. Ah, yes, yes. Peter says he uses a refractometer for sugar. Do I use? No. I have used refractometers in different situations over the years, when especially back in the old days when we used to manufacture our own flavoring syrups. We would use refractometers to make sure that we had the right Brix levels. And then what else? I would use refractometers when we used to make wine. So there was a time when I thought that I would be a good vigneron, well, maybe not a vigneron, but more a garagiste. And we were bringing in grapes from California. And I always thought that I wanted to be like a Cabernet Sauvignon kind of guy, right? So I was like, so we would work with this produce supplier who would bring in grapes from Napa Valley. They were not terribly expensive. They were not cheap, but they were not terribly expensive. And so we did the whole process, of mashing the grapes, putting them in mashing them, putting them in a press, pressing them out, and then letting them rest on the leaves to get the color, and then separating them, pressing them. Then actually, that's when you do it. You crush and then you press later, and then barrel aging them. And we had surprising success is the way to put it. The first year we totally mucked it up, but so what it is, we had these grapes. I think it was a little bit of Cabernet. Oh, no, the Cabernet was later. I think we were using Sangiovese and Alicante, right? Because the guys we worked with, the produce guys, were Italian, and this is a whole Italian kind of thing. And we wanted to adjust the Brix level, so we added sugar to adjust the Brix level. Well, we didn't know what we were doing. We added way too much sugar. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, if you've ever had like a fortified wine, or like if you've ever had port wine, by the time we were done, it was like a port wine. It's actually not bad, but it was crazy. I was like, this is just like ridiculous. So later years, I would use Cabernet, and I had better results. But nothing like, never anything like worthy of being a garagiste. Never. Although the weekend before, we went to a dinner at my friend Andrew's house, and some of our other friends, this couple, this husband and wife team, they brought some wine. They're into wines. Well, everyone's into wines, right? Like my friend Andrew, he's an alumni he used to work for a chef by the name of Jean-Georges von Jurichten. And Jean-Georges is like one of the French culinary gods of Washington, D.C. Like, he's like one of the original, like he's like he's like friends with Jacques Pepin and like Julia Childs. Like, he's of that stature. Like if you know restaurants and you know the history of like restaurants, especially in this area, and you say you work for Jean-Georges, you're like, whoa. Even I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa, dude, you work for who? I was like, man, what was that like? I was like totally fascinated. Because, it's to me, I'm always interested when people work with like some of the greats in any industry. So I want to, ask them, like, well, what was it like? How was it? It's granted it's going to be tough, but how much, you get so much out of it. So I always think it's great if you can work with the best in any field. So now that we've diluted it from this, better sweetness, nicer flavor, rounded, smoother. Yeah, really a little bit of fruit. see. Power plant says always over extract and then you can bypass. No doubt, no doubt. That's true. Under extraction is the sin you can't. That's a good way to put it. I never really thought too much about that. I mean, it's true. It's there's so many idioms that are very similar to that in many different fields, but I totally get it. Oh yeah, Dev, no problem, man. My pleasure. My pleasure. I hope it helps. I hope it helps. Feel free to manipulate it as you wish. Peter says, I don't own one. I'm just pretending to sound like an expert. It's all right. You have to fake it till you make it, right? That's what I've always done. It's like, oh yeah. Like, for example, when power plant talks about bypass, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I have no idea what that means. Like, bypass. I know people talk about bypass going around the coffee. And then now when he says that under extraction is a sin you can't come back from, well, then now I understand that, oh, okay, so he does mean just adding water. Okay, cool. Now I get it. I think I get it. Right? It's just kind of like, yeah, okay, sounds good. Sounds good. To be honest with you, there's a whole world of geeky coffiness that I'm not really that I haven't really followed very well. So I'm like, so I hear other baristas, other coffee people talking about certain things. I'm like, what's that all about? What do they mean by that? Fellow, what does that mean? My fellow man? Or is there some kind of company out there that makes products? What? I don't know. So this is actually very pleasant. I do like it. Now, if you go to a cupping, especially one that's with other people, don't do this. Don't pick it up and drink. Although I would be interested to see what would happen, but I bet they'd freak the hell out. They'd be freaked out. Be crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? Oh yeah, so speaking of TVs, any thoughts on TV brands that I should be considering? Like, I know there's Vizio and Samsung. I want to get them something that's decent, but I don't want to. It's from my mom's kitchen, so it's in their kitchen. They're just watching in the kitchen while they do whatever. So they're not watching critically, and they're not like me, who would be like, what kind of lumens or what kind of image are we getting from? Are we getting true blacks? Nobody cares about that in the kitchen, right? So I'm thinking I don't need to go for super high end. Just something, decent, but not terribly expensive. And then I was thinking about taking that 27-inch and putting it in my workshop. I was like, ooh, I could watch videos. I could watch my YouTube videos from my computer on that. Power Plant says, when I started AeroPressing about 15 years ago, bypass brewing was the way. Oh, okay, so you're just adding it after. Oh, that's how we've always done the AeroPress. Okay, perfect. I didn't know it's called bypass. We just call it add water. Brewing a small amount of concentrated coffee and then adding water to taste. Yeah. So we would brew, for our AeroPress recipe, 36 grams of coffee in the AeroPress, however much water, press it out. We waited 45 seconds, press it out, add water to 12-ounce volume. Done. That's the recipe I used to win the 2012 AeroPress Championship. Now, I can't say that in 2026, 2025, you're going to win the AeroPress Championship with that recipe because, it's antiquated. I'm antiquated. I'm not going to drink that one. I'm going to drink this one. Power Plant says, what is your TV budget? I would like it to be under $100 US. But perhaps that's not realistic. I certainly do not want to spend $500. I would prefer not to spend $200. I've seen some TVs online that were $60. I was like, $60 is good. $60 is just about right. Peter says, have you heard of the American press? The American press. Oh gosh, is this a joke? All right, hit us up, Peter, hit us up. I'm a bit scared now. Dev says the Roku TVs are a great budget choice. Oh, okay. I will look. So I'm gonna hit Best Buy, Micro Center, and Costco. Maybe not necessarily today, but at some point. But I am kind of pressed to get a new hard drive, though, so I'll probably go to Best Buy today. Oh, similar principle to the AeroPress. I would look it up, but I'm on the phone, so. Naomi says you can do 150 since you have the $50. Well, I would like to use my $50 Best Buy card for my hard drive. Actually, because I think that when I was going to buy one about a month ago, and I found the Best Buy card, I was like, I looked up different hard drive places, Micro Center, Best Buy, and Best Buy. I think Best Buy had one of those backup drives for with 14 gigabytes or 14 terabytes of memory, and I was like, for like $150 or something like that. And I was like, ooh, maybe that's the one. Because if I went to Micro Center and I bought like raw drives, it's more expensive. And I was like, I just need something to store video files on. Like I archive all the video footage that I shoot and use in the videos, like the actual raw files. Because I'm a hoarder and I think that I might need it in the future. Maybe. And so I don't really I archive them all, and so I'm getting it. This is the problem that all YouTubers have, is that it just the more you shoot, the more it grows, and you're just like, oh. A lot of people are like, you need to get a NAS, like a network area storage device. And I'm like, NASs are expensive. I don't necessarily need to access all this gigabytes of data. I just need to like archive them, and then maybe pull the hard drive and then use it later. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. Power Plant says there's a $75 Insignia TV on M. Oh, maybe I'll buy that. All right. Thank you, Power Plant. I will look for that later today. Power Plant says that the Delta and American Press are just alternates. Just stick with the tried and true aeroplane. I am curious to know what America Press, the America Press, America Press. I'm in America. We should be using the America Press because we're going to annex everyone, right? That's the whole plan, right? America's going to annex Canada and then Greenland. We're not going to annex Mexico, evidently. I guess they're just too brown down there for us to annex them. And they speak a strange language, right? I don't know. Spanish. Who understands that? But lo and behold, I guess they don't realize that, Greenland has its own native people that are not the Dutch or the Danes, Dutch. See, I'm an American, so I don't really know. I don't know these things. Dev says a Samsung SSD T7 are great for storing your footage. Ooh, that's a problem though with the SSDs. Like I have a couple SSDs, and I theoretically bought them because I'm going to use them for active editing, meaning that I was going to take, as I was editing each video, I would take those files from wherever I had them, whatever hard drive I have them, whatever platter-based hard drive I have them stored, put them on the SSD, and then edit, and then it just goes faster, right? Because when you're editing with solid-state drives, it's much faster than a spinning platter, even if you get a 10,000 RPM platter. In practice, that's not how I actually work. I just never move it from the drives that I put it on. It's like, whatever. It's 5,500 or 72. I usually buy 7,200 RPM drives, and so it's like, But the problem with the SSDs is that they're still pretty expensive compared to platter drives. And what I really need is, I don't necessarily need scratch drives to work off. What I need is like a storage drive to archive. And, it grows all the time. And every 5 years I have to replace them. But at least the positive is that, as time goes by, the cost of hard drive storage goes down. So it's not as expensive as it used to be. Peter says, Americano's not American. What? What are you talking about? Americano was started for Americans, by America, as we liberated Italy. Or something like that. No, it's not Italian. They just made it, but it's really American. One of my friends was trying to argue with me the other day. He was like, he's a big Trump guy, and he's like, I said something, and he's like, well, that's not. He said he asked about something being factual, and I was like, Since when do you care about facts and truth? Like when did that become important to you? I think that guy must hate me by this point. It's all right. He's kind of a dick anyway. Power Plant says yes, but made for Americans by Italians. That's right. That's right. They should all make it for. Like, you could buy the American espresso machine, the Astra. Astras are very maligned in my world. Astras are very maligned, but I mean they've been around for a long time, so they must do fairly well. I've never used one. I can't say anything about them. Peter says maybe we should call it Africano. Oh yeah, I like that. I'm all about that. Gulf of Africano. Ooh, Gulf of Africano. That works too. That works too. And then the Arabica does not grow in Arabia, I guess. Well, actually, it does. It does actually, right? So there's actually I was reading about this not too long ago, actually for the video that I'm trying to edit to finish editing. That talks about like we have one of the general accepted ideas is that coffee springboarded from Ethiopia, right? With Kaldi, the goat herder. The goats are eating some berry on the tree, and this guy Kaldi is like, why are my goats dancing? And for whatever reason, this guy Kaldi goes from looking at his goats eating this fruit on this tree and dancing to somehow putting it in his mouth and then roasting it and then drinking it. Somehow it goes from that. I don't know how that happens, right? Like I'm always curious to know, like, how did we get to eat the things we eat? Like, for example, sea urchin. I love sea urchin, delicious. I can't get enough of it. But woe to the hungry man that was like out there on the seashore, like, I'm so hungry, I need to eat whatever I can get. And that big spiny thing that's gonna poke my eyes and my hands out, I'm gonna grab it and tear it open and eat whatever's inside. Like, you gotta be like starving at that point to do things like that. And I just wonder, right? So, but the other thing that I was reading is that coffee may have sprangboard out of Yemen, right? So Yemen, there's a similar story. And I can't remember if it was, I got to look at my notes, but maybe it was a goat herder or something like that. But again, a guy in Yemen saw something and somehow decided to put it in his mouth. And then that sprangboard all of this. Because a lot of I mean, and I don't think either way, I wouldn't say that none of it's plausible. Like, for example, like the idea that you have coffee in Ethiopia and it's going to jump across the Gulf of the Sea of Oman or the Red Sea to Yemen, that's plausible. I mean, it's right there. And then it was really from Yemen during the Ottoman Empire where coffee really started to proliferate, right? So it started to proliferate and was traded throughout Arabia. And then Dutch traders and the traders from other parts of the world started coming to the Ottoman Empire and started learning about coffee. And eventually Dutch pirates stole coffee from the Middle Easterners, from the Yemen people, took it to their colonies like in Indonesia, and started planting their own coffee and grew coffee that way. Power Plant says, we eat some things by watching other animals eating them. Sea otters love urchin. Oh, okay. I mean, I always wonder about that. Like, yeah, maybe there was some old dude, like ancient guy sitting around like, look at that sea otter. What's he eating? He looks like he's eating it voraciously. Let me eat that as well. Like, I don't know. Like, if I watch a vulture eating a deer, I don't necessarily want to eat that deer. Like, I'm like, that doesn't look very appetizing to me. Like, I'm not going to go up there. I'm like, because like the urchin, they ate raw. We still eat raw. Like, I'm not eating that raw deer after that Caroline totally ravaged it. Peter says Arab traders and Ottoman rulers. Yes. And Naomi says, I always wondered how yeast came to be used in bread. You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I think, well, I would imagine that at some point, because yeasts, right? Yeasts are natural, right? You can cultivate yeast from the air, from the environment around you. So I'm presuming that when it comes to bread, let's say somehow we went to the point of like finding wheat, finding a way to thresh the wheat, finding a way to grind the wheat or dry it and then grind it into powder and then mix water with it. Somehow that all happened, right? And then I'm going to presume that maybe somebody did that. Like they mixed the powder, the flour with the water, and they just kind of let it sit up. Maybe they forgot about it for a while. And then after a while, it just started to bloom. And they were like, what's going on with this thing? But probably it's so difficult to get the flour that it bloomed. They're like, well, that looks nasty. That looks really weird. That looks like wrong. I should just throw it away and let the animals eat it. But then I won't be able to eat, and I have to thresh and dry and grind wheat again to make my bread. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give this, like what it's like. You drop something on the floor, like, it looks pretty clean. You're still going to eat it. You're not going to let that go to waste. Like if you drop a Hershey Kiss on the ground, you're not going to you're not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to touch that, right? So this person probably just baked it and like, oh, it's pretty. This is how I would imagine that springboard. I have no idea if that's true. I'm just. Naomi says, and who in the world looked at a natto and thought it was worth a. Again, I think in that case, it goes maybe to the bread thing. Like, here's this guy, here's this dude. He's like got this like soybeans. He prepared them. He spent all this time preparing them. And back then, imagine like you just go buy that stuff. You have to grow it and then like culture it and do everything that you have to do to get it. So you don't want it to go to waste. So here it is fermenting away, looking all nasty and sticky. Like, yeah, I don't really want to put that in my mouth. He's probably like, I don't really want to put that in my mouth, but I'm also kind of hungry and I don't want to do the work to make it again. So it's probably a bit of like hunger versus laziness that comes into play, right? I think. Power Plant says yeast was cultivated by people from the wild spores. Ah, okay, yes. That makes sense. Totally makes sense. And Peter says that yeast is naturally everywhere. Things just get fermented. Oh, true. Very true. Like you can see that in many, many things that don't come to mind at the moment. But I know I've talked to some people about that. Like you can do that with like for example, if you take grapes, like for the mother, right? For a mother, you can take your flour and your sugar and water. No, maybe just flour and water, right? Flour, water, and grapes. And then you just let it sit, and whatever yeast that are on the grapes in your air will start fermentation and to create your sourdough starter, and you just continue it. I tried that last summer. It did not go well. It went well for like about 4 days, and it was like, ooh, it's bubbly. And then I guess I just didn't do it correctly. I didn't feed it at the right moment. I'm going to try it again this year. I'm going to get some local fruits and try it again. Maybe I can get some local wheat. Power Plant says the strangest one is yogurt, supposedly made by carrying yak milk in a gut bag. Oh. I wonder, so the guts must have had some enzymes that help to curdle, I guess, lack for a better word, curdle the milk into yogurt. I think one of my favorite yogurts is from Afghanistan. One of my good friends, Gautam Kambageri, he's a coffee guy in Dubai. The last time I was in Dubai, he was like, let's go to dinner. I was like, all right. So he took me, he's like, let's go to this old school joint, an old school Dubai, like this old, like, dirty part of Dubai. Like you see Dubai on the news, Dubai is beautiful and sleek and modern. This is like the old dirty part of Dubai. Like it's all down and dirty. You're like, oh, this is where you want to go. This is like the dirty part of town. And I don't mean dirty like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's not legal there. But, and that's haram, right? Like Muslims in like controlled societies don't do that. Bahrain, evidently, it's a madhouse there, so you can go do whatever you want in Bahrain. But in Dubai, you can't really do that. This place, they have these. What are they called? They call them kebabs, but they're more like flat breads with like ground lamb on it, right? Delicious. However, my friend was like, Gautam, he's from India, so he's like, "Do you want some lassi?" And I was like, "I don't know about lassi." He's like, "It's really good." I was like, "Oh, I don't know, man. All right, I'll try it." Because here in America, you go to Indian restaurants and they give you mango lassi, and it's very sweet and liquidy, and I'm not really a big fan of it. But I was like, okay, fine. So he orders it, they bring it out, and basically it comes in these like mud clay cups, and it really has the consistency of like thick yogurt. But there's a beautiful sweetness and delicateness to it. Not too sour. Like, oh my gosh, it's like the best yogurt I've ever had. I was like, holy God. I still think about that today. Like I want to go back to Dubai and eat there again. It's like I was like, oh my gosh. I haven't found anything like that anywhere in America yet. Well, I haven't looked too hard, but I haven't found that yet here. So, but a wonderful, wonderful thing. You get to try it. It's Afghani lassi, but it's supposed to be really thick, like a soft serve ice cream. Naomi says, I'm sure we had many first tasters who passed away. Oh, no doubt. Like, imagine those people that were like, that saw those fungi, mushrooms, they were like, I'm going to eat that. Eh? That's not, you do that, Governor. Peter says that food preservation and accidental discovery. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I was reading something or heard something, a podcast maybe, that was talking about the hamburger as we know it today, the cheeseburger. The bacon cheeseburger that we know it, I know I'm adding on ingredients, but the bacon cheeseburger that we know today would not have been possible 100 years ago. And here's why. Because the advent of refrigeration has allowed us to keep different products at different times throughout the year outside of their traditional harvest time, right? So like, I think they were saying that you would grow your cows and you would slaughter them like in November, but you wouldn't have wheat until spring, and then you wouldn't have the fruits like tomatoes and the vegetables like the onions and stuff until the end of summer. So in times previous to refrigeration, there was never a point of the year when all those ingredients would be fresh and available at the same time. And I was like, what? That's so like hard to imagine. Like, and I guess that makes sense. Things change over time. Like when I was young, like in high school and the club years, like AIDS was a big thing. Like AIDS was some scary stuff. Like everyone was like, AIDS, 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 AIDS. You're gonna get AIDS. You're gonna die. Kaposi sarcoma. You're really gonna be done. I know quite a few people that died from AIDS. And my old hairdresser died from AIDS. But now, today, in modern times, AIDS is an afterthought. We've pretty much solved the AIDS issue. I mean, we haven't eradicated it, but you can get AIDS now and never die. I mean, that's a tremendous change from when we were young, right? Back then, you had to worry, like, ooh, what about STDs and AIDS? You gotta be careful. Now you don't have to be careful. Whatever, just go. You don't need a rain jacket. Go ahead, do your thing. Right? It's times change. So like, we can have cheeseburgers now anytime we want. Cheeseburgers. It's a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life. Power Plant says you can make natural yeast starter from raisins quite easily. Ah, yes, yes. You just add the raisins to clean glass bottle and fill with water. Maybe that was part of the problem. I put it in a Cambro. But a Camptina should be just as good, right? You have to burp it. Well, I didn't burp it. That's probably the problem. But it'll make yeast pretty quickly. And Power Plant says that my yogurt is Skyer from Iceland. The brand Icelandic Provision slaps me every time. Oh, that's the one that's really thick, right? That they have at the grocery stores. I think they have that at the grocery store. I tried that. I like that one. That is nice. Ken also loves Skyer. Skyer. Legends here with us. Hi, sir. Do you have a donation box? Do I have a donation box? I guess so. There's probably like if you really want to donate, there's probably a way to do that somewhere down below. I don't know. Some people do. If you feel so inclined, I won't say no. I will be very appreciative. Power Plant says in the 1920s, they definitely had burgers, onion burgers, could have been eaten all year round. Having tomato, lettuce, and stuff was in the 50s, and bacon is cured so you're, yeah, no. But I think that, but in the 20s, we still had refrigeration, right? Didn't we have refrigeration by the 20s? I think it was more like probably 1800s. Because the 1920s still had ice boxes, right? Is that right? I don't know. I see pictures of like people living in the 1920s. And I can't imagine. Like, oh my gosh. Like, imagine a world where like you're living in New York City, you're living in these high density apartments. This is before, I think this is before the advent of air conditioning. My God. It just sounds like a horrible world to live in. Like, and 100 years from now, people will be like, those people who lived in the 2020s, a horrible time. Horrible. Skier. Okay, thank you, Paige. Thank you. Power Plant says, but you have to remember, it was not as hot back. Oh, please, come on now. That's not what they tell us. Republicans don't believe that. Those are fake news. Those are fake news. No doubt. I mean, we're not losing coffee lands because of heat. Sorry. As it's cooling, kind of nice. I like it. I'm going to add more because I'm kind of enjoying it. There's some sediment forming at the bottom because, it's not perfect. But like, imagine if you lived in the South, American South. Like I remember seeing these houses in the American South where they built like this is the outer wall and this is the inner wall, right? The Page, you probably know more about this than I do, but like they would have these kind of spaces between the exterior and interior walls that would act, I think, as some kind of method of cooling or something like that. And then I would be in the Philippines, and you know how there's not jealousy windows, but you know how they have transom windows over some doorways. Like there's transom walls, like across the top of the wall, you would have these slats that would be open air, and that would, these are the old school Philippine houses, right? Because it's all like hot and tropical there, and that would somehow allow the rooms to stay relatively cool naturally. I was like, wow. I mean, I'm very happy for air conditioning, but I'm totally fascinated by how these architectural designs are used to help create comfortable environments. Because I know sometimes I go to places that I'm just sweating. It's just like, oh my gosh, so heavy. Legend says, nope, it's sad. I really want to do that, but that's all right. Not to worry. If you really want to support the channel, go to a website called sprocoffee.com, S-P-R-O coffee.com. Buy coffee for yourself. By you buying coffee, my coffee, this coffee, you support the channel. And you get coffee for yourself. It's not like just giving money to someone. You actually get something in return. Sprocoffee.com. You Can't Silence Me says, is that instant coffee? This is not instant coffee. This is actually the House Nation coffee from Spro Coffee, which is the company that I run. And we've been tasting it in a cupping set kind of scenario, but it was a little bit heavy, so we've been diluting. We've been bypass brewing it, as Power Plant likes to say, bypass brewing. See, I learn something new every day. And getting nice results because, the concentration was pretty high here. So we dilute it with some water to get the bypass to make it a little bit nice and friendlier. And it's been very pleasant, Power Plant says that sounds like an air gap, much like a vacuum thermos. Yes, I think that's what it is. And air is a great insulator. Yeah, I just, in here, because I'm up here in Maryland, we don't really have, we have very hot and humid weather, but I've only lived in modern building, modern home, relatively modern home, modern homes to the times, and so I haven't really had any experience with those older styles of architecture. Oh, Paige does nothing about that. Well, okay, that's all right. I know I'm stereotyping. You're from the South. I thought, oh, it's Southern. You must know. I know you don't really know. That's all right. You could be like, you're Asian. You must know rendang. No, I don't really know anything about rendang. Paige says, thankful it's so nice today, and I've got windows open. Oh, I love the days when you can open the windows. Like in the garage, I've been doing some of my woodworking. This last day, like day or two, doors have been open. Oh, so nice, so nice. A little bit chilly. Would like 5 to 7 degrees more warmer, and I think it'd be just right, just right. You Can't Souse Me asks, what kind of coffee? This is called the House Nation from Spur Coffee. It is a blend of coffees. This particular one is a blend of Mexican and Nicaraguan coffees. And they're designed really to be very approachable, chocolate, nuts, good body, nice sweetness. Something that's especially coffee grade, but approachable to the average coffee drinker, so that when they come into the shop or into our clients' shops, they can have a coffee that is better than probably better than what they're drinking typically, but not so dramatic that it would be off-putting. All right, Legend, yeah, buy some coffee. Buy coffee for yourself. I like the idea of, people going to spurcoffee.com and buying coffee to support the channel, because you get something in return. You Can't Souse Me said, never had coffee like that before. Well, then, spurcoffee.com. I almost never say that on this show. What's the website again? I'm going to check it out. SPRO Coffee. SPRO Coffee. Do I have a... Oh, I have a... Oh, that doesn't have it. Oh, here. It does. It does have it. So here... Where is it? Sprocoffee.com. Sprocoffee.com. Or Sprocoffee.com. Where is it? Sprocoffee.com. This is our label for the espresso. Power Plant says it's Sakura season, so it's pretty nice out now. But now all my favorite places are oh, that's the worst. I always think about going down to DC to see the cherry blossoms. And then I hear about the crowds. I'm like, no. But then again, you know what? Maybe it'll be better this year, because you know what? Perhaps normally it's busy because there's a lot of Canadian tourists. And Canadians are so pissed off with America right now. They don't want to come here. Like, they're not coming. And like, evidently, one of the airlines in Canada ceased all operations to Nashville, Tennessee. And I was like, at least in the tourist boards there are like, oh, we're not getting a lot of, these Canadians are pissed. And rightly so. So maybe it's a good, so depending on how many, actually, if America continues to piss off people around the world and they begin to hate, they start to hate us more than they already do, and choose to not come here anymore, that could make for a very nice tourist season here. And a nice summertime for those of us who are stuck in America. Maybe I'll go to Dollywood this year. I am interested. I'm curious to know how that might affect. Legend says, can you say Ramadan Mubarak? What is the Mubarak? I know Ramadan is going on. We were at last weekend, the weekend before. Yeah, the weekend before we stopped by this Pakistani restaurant, because we just saw it. I was like, oh, let's go have this. Let's try their food. And man, this Pakistani restaurant, it's in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Wow, really good. Like, I wasn't sure what to expect. Like, I ordered, I don't even know what I ordered. Biryani, not biryani, but a biryani or something. It's not biryani. It was something somewhat remote, not even remote. It was a chicken dish. But man, so well executed. Like the chicken was cooked perfect. But we got there like maybe around 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I didn't realize, because I haven't been to the Middle East in a while. And I didn't realize that we were already in the middle of Ramadan. And so people were starting to come in to get their orders, right? Because if you're not familiar, like if you follow Islam, the month, what is it, the ninth month of the lunar year, is that right? The ninth month of the whatever. I'm not sure exactly when, but it's always changing, right? For 1 month straight, you're supposed to fast during the day. So from sun up to sundown, no eating, no drinking, no water, no coffee. So when sundown comes, it's like a mass. I mean, of course, you're starving. You've been eating, you haven't eaten all day, so you're like, giving your praise to Allah, but you must go and eat now. You're like, I gotta. So like, and I remember they were getting ready to set up their buffet. So I can only imagine that like, once 7 o'clock, or actually this is before we changed the time zone. So once 6 o'clock or 6:15 came, it must have been a madhouse in there. Like people were just like, hungry Muslims are like, we gotta eat now. The sun is down. Mashallah, we gotta go eat now. But it's fun. It's interesting because I was in Manila one year, and I just happened to be there at the end of Ramadan. At the end of Ramadan is marked by a holiday called the Eid, E-I-D, in English, and the Eid is the end of Ramadan. Big holiday. And I never really been, by this point, I had never been to a place that really celebrated that, because in America, we don't celebrate. In America, evidently, our government considers the Islam is Islam. Christians here think that Islamic God, Allah, is something different. They're all Abrahamic faiths. They're all the same. But anyway, I'm there, and it's the Eid. And it was a national holiday there, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I could travel across the city, because nobody's working. City's closed. And I was just like, I'm traveling across the city, like, in like 10 minutes. It's like fabulous, whereas traffic in Manila is usually horrible. Peter says, it's monsoon season here. Oh, no, that's terrible. That's terrible. Naomi says, Agent 99 is fantastic. If you haven't tried it, oh, thank you. That's very kind. That's fine. Legend says that it's lacking. The Mubarak, or the Ramadan is. Paige says I have to order some spro beans when my crunch down. Yeah, wait, well, there's no rush. Just, whenever you feel like it. Whenever you feel like it, always welcome. Power Plant says there's one of the upsides of the pandemic was that domestic travel was quite pleasant. I got to see Kyoto in all 4 seasons with almost no, oh yeah, that would have been nice. I didn't mind the pandemic in certain respects. Like, I loved it. Like, I would commute to the shop every day, right? And I love no traffic. Like, no traffic was brilliant. I was like, this is brilliant. I wish everybody stayed home. Legend says, I'm in Pakistan. Oh, Pakistan. Oh, nice. I can't remember. Some kind of chicken begins with a B. Chicken, birlani, maybe birlani. But nice. They cooked it like marinated chicken. And the way they cooked it, perfect, like tender. They didn't overcook it. Like sometimes places overcook it. It's all like dry, but perfect. Perfect, just perfect. Just perfect. And I think Power Plant is in Japan. But not biryani. Like biryani, what I know from like Nepali and like other restaurants is like a mixture of like the chicken's inside the rice. This wasn't inside the rice. And it didn't say biryani. It was different than biryani. I think it was called birlani. I'm not sure. And Legend says, I'm fasting. You're fasting. Isn't it nighttime over there? Peter says, I'll be in Japan in June. Oh, I wish I was in Japan. Aim G says, you are beach. I'm at the beach? I'm not at the beach. I'm at the shop. I'm at the shop. That's the beginning of the hot season. Oh yeah, man. The last time I was in Tokyo was in June 2023. Blazing hot, blazing hot, blazing. And like that was the first time I had been able to go back since the pandemic, and I was really surprised at how many tourists there were. And I guess because I finally was like, I went down to shoot a video at Kisamako, which is inside the Tsukiji Outer Market. And as I got to the outer market, I was like, oh my gosh, man, I need to get the hell out of here. Too many tourists. Like, it was like so jam-packed. I was like, this is not fun. I was like, luckily Kisamako is like really unknown. And it's upstairs. You kind of have to find it. So I was like the only non-Japanese person there. Fast from 4:50 a.m. to 7 p.m. Peter says, I'm used to the heat. Oh, good, good. And Parplan says, Tsukiji is awful. It is awful. It is awful. I hadn't been to Tsukiji since that time, since last year, 2020. The last time I went to Tsukiji was back in 2007, when I first started going back to Japan. And we were there for the World Barista Championship. So I brought Bronwyn, Cerna, and a couple other people with us to go see the auction. So we got there like at 3. We got there like, I think we had the cabin there. We were staying by, what's it called? Not Shinjuku, but the one south, the big station south, at the bottom, at the southern point of the Yamanote line, which is Shinagawa. We were at the Shinagawa Prince. So I think we cabbed it because the trains hadn't started running by the time we needed to be there. I think we had to be there like by 4. We had to hang out in the frozen, like refrigerated like warehouse. The auction was awesome. It was awesome to go there and like eat there at the market. Then I went and bought some knives at Aritsugu. But I had it, and it was I guess it was fairly crowded then, but it wasn't terrible. But this time was terrible. I was like, oh, this is terrible. And then I heard about the new one, Toyosu Market. They have this outer market, evidently at Toyosu Market, right? Power plant. And I saw a video, that guy that's abroad in Japan, not abroad in Japan, but the skinny guy that likes to live stream, he was there. He was talking about the outer market at Toyosu and how like it's really like curated and it's like pretty expensive. I was like, oh, I don't need to go to Toyosu then. It's so far away. Tsukiji and Sensoji Temple are the worst tours. Yeah, no doubt. I walked through Sensoji Temple a few years back, and I was like, "Oh, this is all right. It's all right." Well, I guess for a lot of people, you do kind of have to go. Tsukiji, I don't think you're missing out. I guess Sensoji is kind of iconic in the fact for tourists, like the big gateway. You know, I think it's as you know, with that place in Kyoto that everybody wants to go to that has the. I hear at that one, if you go farther up the mountain, nobody goes up that far. People don't want to commit to that. Powerplant says the only touristy place that I enjoy is Akihabara. I can stay there forever. Oh yeah, no doubt. Especially if you go to the place, the building. When you walk out and there's that one building that has all the anime otaku stuff. It's like, oh, I like that. I like that little shopping center. And then of course the big camera and the what's the other camera store there? Yodobashi camera. It's like, oh, so nice. But yeah, I found that like I can go to Bic or Yodobashi like in Ginza or Shinjuku just as readily, without having to make the trek up to Akihabara. Peter says, I'm avoiding all tourist areas going back. So you know what I would like to do next time I go to Japan? And I want to go check out that Coffee Mameya place. What's it called? Cafe Mameya. The one that's in that power plant. You probably know what I'm talking about, this place. And Peter, you probably know too, the neighborhood that has all the coffee shops. Like if we're looking at Tokyo, right? It's kind of east of the central part of Tokyo. Coffee Mamiya Kakeru is what it's called. I think I'm interested to check that out. Yeah, I would like that. Kakeru would be good. And there's actually a lot of places that I've pinned on my Google Maps that I want to check out, and I don't. I would have to be there for a month to see them all. Mamiya is fine. I thought it was quite a cold experience. Maybe they did that on purpose. That could be. You mean the Kakeru? I can see that. But I would like to check it out. I do like the Mamiya, the original one in Omotesando. I always liked that, the original location, and then when they redid it to the new version, I've always kind of enjoyed what they do. What I really liked was when they opened up the Toranomon coffee in the Toranomon Tower. What I liked the most about that was the way they packaged their shokupan, right? Their toast. They had this toast that they formed in a certain. They must have had it made in a certain size, and they made this box that it origamied out. You're like, holy moly, into like a serving tray. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. I was like, that was like one of the most amazing food packages I've seen in a long time. Power Plant says, I'm a much bigger fan of Korean places. Oh, interesting. Well, do you have any favorite Korean places? I personally, in Seoul, I really think that the onion in Gumsuk, onion coffee, is it Gumsuk? Is awesome. Like, just the whole, look of it is awesome. Like, if you guys are not familiar, there's this place called Onion in Seoul. And you know how, Japanese have those old school houses with, the ceramic tiles? Koreans have something very similar in their history. Well, this onion place took one of these old houses. And of course, those old houses are not very well insulated. So what they did is they kind of rehabbed it. But what they also did is that they clad it on the exterior with plate glass, sheets of plate glass to enclose it. And it is easily one of the most gorgeous coffee shops I've ever seen anywhere in the world. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is awesome. And the coffee's very good. The pastries are really great. And it's huge. It's huge. So many places to sit. So many people there. It's worth going to. Totally. I think it's worth going to. Power Plant says they are much better than the Japanese cafes. Ooh. I don't know. I really have an affinity for Kisaten culture, so I'm really fascinated by that. Peter says Southeast Asia is where I'd like to be based. Oh, cheaper. Yeah, it would be nice to be based there. I would like to open a coffee place in Manila. I had this idea that's kind of like that Gumsuk onion for Manila. I have an area picked out that was like, that would be dope. I haven't found any buy-in from anyone because, maybe people think it's a little bit crazy. Parkland says, Peter, I lived in Singapore for many years too. Ooh, I wish I had more time to visit Singapore. I want to go visit and really tour around. I've only been to the airport. Unguk, thank you. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Soul Forest Coffee. Ooh, okay, I'll check that one. One of the places that I want to go to, one of my friends opened since the pandemic, so I haven't been there yet. But it is the place that when I go to, next time I'm in Asia, I'm going to fly to Seoul just for this purpose of visiting her cafe. She opened a place called Gimisa, Gimisa, in Gimisa, where is it? Seongsu District? Seongsu, is that right? I would say that's worth it. So In Young is an old friend of mine in the business. She's also been a judge. She's an excellent coffee talent. And I think she's buying beautiful, beautiful coffees. And she built this place that is super stylish, gorgeously stylish, hyper modern is how I would have to describe it. So if you check it out, if you could go, I'd love for you to tell me what you think about it, and maybe she's there, introduce herself and tell her you know me, and be like, hey, her and I go along. We go back a good 10 years now, I think. so much available. Yeah, interesting because like I remember before I started going to Seoul in my coffee life, I remember a lot of people that were always talking about Seoul. They're like, Seoul's got like a cafe on every corner, and you think when you hear that it's hyperbole. You're like, all right, sure they like coffee. Then when I went to Seoul, like I think my first trip to Seoul in the modern times was like 2015, and I remember riding around. And I was like, it's not hyperbole. It's not on every corner. It's like on every corner and every half block. There's a shop. You're like, whoa, these people have coffee, and a lot of them have their own roasters. And like, wow, there's a lot of roasters here. Like, and a lot of cafes. Do any of these guys make any money? Like, with such a level of saturation, like, I mean, maybe the density is high enough that. But we stayed one year that we were there we were overseeing their championship. I was there with Scott Connery. We were both doing it, and we stayed. They put us up at this hotel, the Shilla Stay Hotel, which is actually maybe 2 blocks from the original location of Fritz Coffee. Nice place, nice place. If you ever go, Fritz is a classic of the Seoul scene. PowerPoint says, when I lived in Seoul, Sung Soo was in Rat's Nest. Now it's one of the trendiest spots. Oh, interesting. Well, In Young is certainly a very trendy kind of person. She's very stylish, very, very stylish. Powerplant says, steel cuts steel in Seoul. The best coffee places just constantly trying to outcompete each other. I believe it. I mean, Korean culture is pretty hardcore from my understanding. I'm like, and then what's the guy that owns Coffee Libre? I ran into him at the airport in Guatemala City one year. We're like, oh, what's going on, man? But he always goes to the one auction in Colombia. And he's crazy. These Asian guys are crazy, right? Like he goes to the auction in Colombia and he buys the number 1 lot. Like, if you like the number 1 lot, be prepared to pay outrageous amounts of money to get it, because this guy will go to no end to win the number 1 lot. He will go all the way up as far as it takes. He outbids everyone. But it's all part of the Coffee Libre scene, which I kind of respect that. Power Plant says, I like pizza in New York City. Ooh, there's some good pizza outside of New York City. Like, I used to live in New York. I like New York pizza, don't get me wrong, but I think New Haven pizza in Connecticut, hella good, hella good. Power Plant says, that's why the Seoul spots are so much better than Tokyo. Gotcha. Yeah, they're just trying to kill each other. Whereas I guess in Tokyo, they're more like, we're focused on our craft. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe that's what I like about it. I don't necessarily need to be killed. I just want to focus on the craft. Peter says, Shanghai has the fastest growing cafe culture. I need to go check that out. That's the only place I would love to check out. There's no time. Not enough money. Power Plant says, Coffee Libre was right by my house in Seoul. I lived in Yeongham-dong. Oh, really? Yes, so I stayed at the Shilla Hotel, the Shilla Stay Hotel, right by there. A nice area. Found a good fried chicken place. I go to this one. I like that. There's that, not Myeongdong Street. There's another place where I found the dumplings that I really like. And then there's this barbecue joint, this Korean barbecue that's far from that area. That I only know it from my bookmarks on my Google Maps, and I send people there, but I'm like, I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. Oh, Coffee Libre. You said Coffee Libre. I was thinking about Fritz, not Libre. I have been to the original Libre. Myeongdong Goja is the famous one. No, that's not the one that I went to in Myeongdong. It's not Myeongdong. It's another like market area that is not terribly far from Anguk, right? If you leave like Onion and kind of head generally west from Anguk, there's another market area that has this dumpling, gyoza kind of place. Man, it's so good. God, I'll go there and like buy like a couple dozen and then take them to the airport. Good stuff. Good stuff. Peter says, I'm going to try live streaming my work on Instagram. Oh, you should, man. What is the work you're doing that you want to live stream? I'm curious. Nam Diamond, thank you. Thank you, exactly. In Korean, they're called Mun. Thank you, Mandu, yes. That place. So when you're at the Nam Diamond Market, it's kind of like maybe like 100 yards from the main road, from the intersection, right? Down from the station. And like there's the outside where people line up and you order, and then you can go inside. I think it's upstairs. You can sit down and order. Man, I like that mandu. Gosh, it's so good. But the kimchi mandu, the spicy one, is pretty darn spicy. I went, like when the last time I was in Seoul, I wanted to go see the Green Cafe, the 2D cafe. So I was in Tokyo, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go check this out. So I flew into Haneda, stayed at a place overnight in Haneda. Then the next morning, I took a flight out of Haneda to Seoul, and that's when I went to go see Green, and then I met up with In Young, and she took me to Angok, to Onion, and then I went to Namdaemun, got my mandu, went back to the airport, went back to Ginpo, and then flew back to Haneda. I was just there for like the day, and it was like, it was a nice time. It was a nice time. I'm going to do coffee at work. Oh, okay, excellent, excellent. I like that. I like that. Let me know. Let us know. Let us know when you're going to do this. We'll try to tune in. Dev says, in my opinion, Fritz was good, but nothing memorable. I think, one of those things where, like, I wonder if it's, like, if it fits a certain time. Right, like Fritz is from my understanding, Fritz is one of the early places, right? So they probably do things a certain way according to the time, and the time that they started also kind of informs their belief in coffee. It's kind of like what I would say even about myself and Spro. We don't really go necessarily for the hyper light and bright coffees, right? Because the time that I started and the period that I like and the coffees that I like are not quite that. So I wonder if that could be part of it. But I think Fritz is still a solid choice, especially if you're someone that wants to explore coffee and understand coffee, especially coffee in a certain country. Like, it's good to visit the different places, the different generations of places, to see the evolution within a country. Parplan says, in Korean, the traditional houses are called hanok. Oh, hanok. Okay. Is that right? Did I say that right? Oh, and Parplan says, Dev, because that's their bakery first. Oh, I didn't know that either. And then most of the bakeries have a good coffee program that would put American ones to shame, but they are principal. Yeah, I think even Onion's more of a bakery because they huge bakery selections. I didn't know Fritz was a. I don't even recall seeing too much baked goods at Fritz when we were there, but we were hanging out with the owner, so who knows what we were looking at. We weren't really doing anything. Peter says, I got to clean out a bioreactor. I'm not looking. That's what you should be live streaming. Bioreactor and then coffee. It's just an idea. Just an idea. All right, you're right. I should get back to work. So, back to work. Tomorrow, we're going to be on the road in Pennsylvania. So, thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening out there. We'll be back again tomorrow with another coffee Q&A, talking about coffee and whatever we want to talk about. So, hope you have a wonderful one. All right, thanks, Ken. And